Lads, welcome back to Fusion YGO. It is your boy Christian the Havercardman, and we are bringing you an updated Machina Rescue Ace deck profile today. Alright, so you guys may have recently seen my combo tutorial for this deck, and when I filmed that combo tutorial, I had forgotten about the fact that I had changed this deck quite substantially since I released the first deck profile. I did mention when I did that profile that this deck was still very much in testing, and that I had a lot to work around with it. So, today I'm going to be bringing you guys the updated deck profile for Machina Rescue Ace. So, starting off here, we're just going to kind of breeze through this nice and simple since I did give a pretty good explanation on most of the cards last time around. So we are playing for our Machina package 1 Ruin Force, 1 Citadel, 1 Megaform, 1 Irradiator, 1 Fortress, 1 Unclassed Bar, 2 Machina Gear Frame, and 1 Machina Possess Storage. As our monster lineup, this just gets us to our basic Machina Engine, Gear Frame being a 1-card rank 4 that also gets you set up with stuff like Citadel and Ruin Force and Graveyard. That can also net you a search for either Rescue Ace Hydrant or another Machina monster as a follow-up. The Irradiator Megaform package is really good to be able to search off of the Machina redeployment, so that way you can just get straight to a Citadel or even summon out from the deck like an Unclassed Bar to get a dump. Just kind of depends on what you're feeling in that instance. Citadel and Ruin Force, of course, big game enders. Citadel allowing you to blow up a lot of fields, and Ruin Force just being an absolutely big body that you can use with Citadel to actually float into Machina monsters while blowing up your opponent's board. A really sick combo there. But once again, like I mentioned previously, the Machina engine is entirely supplemental to Rescue Ace and is just meant to be extra OTK and extender potential. So for the Rescue Ace lineup then, we are running 1 Rescue Ace Turbulence, 1 Fire Engine, 1 Fire Attacker. I realized after the last time of building around that these cards are easily searchable. There's so many ways to get into these cards in the deck that it really doesn't matter only having them at 1 apiece, so that way you can just choose when you need to get to them and you're good to go. Plus you can just recycle them if anything happens. We also are running 2 Air Hoister, extra copies of the field spell. Really handy, but you don't always want to open it. So that's why we're only playing it at 2. Okay, and then outside of Hoister, we are also still running the 3 Rescue Ace Impulse. This helps you turn 0 be able to get plays. It helps you going first to be able to get plays during your opponent's turn after you set up your normal combo. Or if your normal combo gets disrupted and your opponent burns through all their hand traps, you can use a Rescue Ace Impulse to still be able to play on their turn and have a chance to come back from things. 3 Rescue Ace Hydrant, because it is the main part of the deck. This puts all of your spells and traps live and gives them just extra abilities, which is always awesome. And then, of course, also being a Rhoda in archetype for the deck is incredible. And then also allowing you to activate one of your quick play spell or traps set by a Rescue Ace card the turn it was set is just insane. Being able to do at least one of those per turn gives you a lot of options and flexibility. So that's it for the monsters. We're playing an even split of 20 and 20 between monster spells and traps. So we have for our spells now a 1 Reinforcement of the Army, being our our 3rd copy of Air Hoister and a 4th copy of Impulse, depending on whichever one you need. 3 Machina Redeployment to get us into the Machina engine. This basically just turns on everything we need, and we can freely discard any of our Rescue Ace spells and traps because we can just recycle them later and even banish them to summon Turbulence to the field, which is really good. I am playing 2 copies of Urgent Schedule now because this just gets 2 bodies onto the board for free. It's easy access to set up a Gear Frame and Citadel Engrave to give you fodder to summon Ruin Force. Also gets you set up with Citadel Engrave, so that way you can be able to summon them out later when something gets destroyed. So Urgent Schedule is really good. And then if you also just set it in your back row and your opponent either dusters or lightning storms you get a free level 10 monster search off of it, which can get you into either your Citadel or your Ruin Force. For the Rescue Ace spells, we have 2 Alert and 2 Rescue. I've figured that 2 and 2 of these are both just fine. This way you've pretty much always got one in the deck to be able to search off of Turbulence to get full advantage, and then you're just able to recycle them, so it doesn't really matter. 3 of the Rescue Ace Headquarters, because this card is absolutely mandatory for the deck. Machina doesn't need to worry about a field spell, so it's perfectly fine. Gets you that bonus normal summon, and this is what allows you to recycle all of your resources. For the Rescue Ace cards, at least, whether they be banished or in your graveyard, which is really, really strong. And then getting you an extra draw off of it just becomes free advantage. For the traps here, we are playing 3 Machina Overdrive this time around because this does help with those brick hands where all you can do is just get a single machine onto the field. This allows you to Machina Overdrive mostly into a Machina Citadel on the opponent's turn, but you do have flexibility with your Machina monsters, even though Citadel is typically the main pick. And as well with Overdrive, it gives you recycling ability for your Machina monsters, so that way you don't only have to worry about managing resources with Rescue Ace, you can manage them with Machina as well, and be able to keep Ruin Forces summoned alive, which is just incredible. So for the Rescue Ace traps here, we are running 2 Contain, 2 Extinguish. Same kind of deal as with the spells, running 2 of each is perfectly fine. If you open it, you just discard it for like Machina Redeployment or a Nightmare monster, and then you can use that to summon Turbulence later on and just recycle it. But this way you always make sure that you have copies in the deck, so that way you can search them off of Turbulence and get your full advantage. So that's it for the main deck. I will go over the extra deck this time because I've kind of nailed it down a little bit more. I still don't think it's perfect. I still think there's a lot more room for flexibility in deck building here. But this is what I am currently running because so far it's been working just fine for me. It gives me a complete toolbox of what I need to be able to deal with opponents. So starting off with the Link monsters here, we are running 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Barricade Board Blocker to help us protect and return our field spell in case anything happens to it. As you guys saw in the combo tutorial, I did actually have this come up. It didn't end up mattering for the entire game, but that is showcasing that there are cases where it does come up. For our Charmers, we have 1 Hita and 1 Dark. We have Dark attribute. We have plenty of Fire attribute. We could run an Asa if we wanted to. There's just not a whole lot of Earth decks running around right now. Maybe a little bit with Verniself, it might be worth considering. You could definitely think about cutting something else in the extra deck to fit an Asa as well. They're just all really good for helping Link climb, which I think is excellent. Also, for the Nightmares, we have 1 Nightmare Phoenix to help with back row and 1 Nightmare Unicorn that can deal with either back row or monsters. Not really worth running the Cerberus, it just kind of feels a little bit extra when we already have so many ways to get rid of monsters. 1 Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. We have plenty of level 7 or higher bodies that we can get onto the field super easily to give this guy the extra protection, and he's just an insane monster to begin with. A really good Link 3 to go into if you have nothing else to do. 1 Axis Kotaku really helps clear up boards and clear games. 1 Borosword Dragon, same kind of deal, mostly for OTKing though. Unchained Abomination, this is for when we know we're into one of those really grindy matches. We have stuff like Citadel, we have Turbulence, we have plenty of cards that allow us to pop and be able to trigger this guy's effect. And then we also have plenty of big bodies that can beat over things in battle to get even more pops. So Unchained Abomination is one of those where you know you're going to need to really be careful about your resources, and you want to be able to clear up your opponents as much as possible. 1 Underworld Goddess to deal with any of those really pesky boss monsters that we just can't deal with otherwise, especially stuff like a rival Cyber Sagnister or now Blackwings a little bit, have Blackwing Full Armor Master. This just gives you extra ways to out monsters like that, also providing you with a Dark Ruler more and a Graveyard Negate, which is just really strong. I absolutely love this card. For the Exceed monsters, we are running 1 number 27 Dreadnought Dreadnoid. This is just a battle phase trick, also an easy way to get into Zeus if all we can do is set up a rank 4. This way we can just go attack into something, even if all their monsters are too big, we can protect itself and then fold it over into a 2 material Zeus, which still gets us a full board wipe. Absolutely insane. 1 Gear King X, this is the primary gear frame combo. Normal summon gear frame, search unclass bar, special summon unclass bar, get a Machina dump, and then overlay into a Gear King X, so you can either search for a Rescue Ace Hydrant for follow-up, or you can search for a Machina Possess Storage as follow-up, because then you can just get another rank 4 for free out of it. 1 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. We can actually use the Dreadnought Dreadnoid to go into this first, be able to detach a material, deal 2k, and then overlay into a Zeus, still have that 2 material wipe. It's just really nice to get a little bit of extra burn damage on the way, and we had the space, so I figured why not. You could also opt to cut another card in this extra deck to be able to run the Leave package and consider trying to go for trains. Leave is not as good, though, if your main way of getting into it is a Dreadnought Dreadnoid, so I would recommend like orienting a little more around rank 10s if you're going to go that way, but I really don't think this is the deck for it. It just doesn't really have that type of deck building style to it. But that is all I got for the deck today, guys. I'm not going to worry about the side deck because formats change, side decks change all the time. So feel free to tech in whatever you're comfortable with, whatever side decks you normally use. There are definitely options you can choose that are more specific to this deck, but I just didn't feel like it was right for me to show you guys my side deck and say, like, this is the way it is. You feel free to side deck the way you are, or the way that you do, and that's just how I've always been. But I hope you guys enjoyed this updated deck profile today. If you guys haven't yet, go check out the combo tutorial. I'll have it linked in the info card up here, so you guys can go check it out and understand how this deck actually functions. And I kind of did some different showcases of good hands that didn't win, bad hands that did win, and then a good hand in like the best case scenario. So you guys can kind of see the different interaction points of the deck, how it functions, the goods and bads of it, and kind of make the decision for yourself if this deck is worth your time. I am really looking forward to it once Rescue Ace finally comes out in the TCG in January. But until then, I am just reduced to testing. So if you guys have any suggestions for this deck or any ideas you think that would go great with this, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I always love hearing your guys' ideas, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed, and remember, good fun. Have luck.